Heaton, I was stopped in the lobby of a Dallas Metroplex hotel by a businessman who wanted to compliment me on the blazer that you recommended me to buy. I am wearing the plaid blazer currently. It fits like a glove, and it has been an absolute hit with everybody that I run into. Friends, I'm here to tell you, Heaton wardrobe for men. I am a very proud client testimonial.
I am thrilled by this. That blazer was the one I was most worried about, incidentally. So I'm thrilled that one worked out, because it's a swing. It's a big swing. It's a loud pattern. And I wasn't entirely how good you look in red. I thought you'd look good, but I wasn't entirely sure. So that one I was a little bit worried about. Thrilled that has worked so well. How's the texture? Is it too thick? Like, how's it doing in the Texas heat when you're walking around outside?
I mean, again, this is a weird thing that you have where those words go together in a sentence. Like, I'm going to walk outside in the Texas heat in the coat. Like, no, I'm going to put on the coat if I want to be on camera. I am going to put on the coat inside. If I needed to be outside for any period of time, I would take off the coat and I would put on something for which an outside person would wear.
Okay, I don't know. You're in Dallas, right? I'm just assuming you walk from like the hotel to a restaurant or something, and but you're not of issue.
No, well, I mean, so we had a presentation this morning, and so I wore that on stage. I will take this off when I get into the car and drive back. I'll probably put on something else, but yeah, so far so good. It's I gotta say, Heaton, this was a tremendous gift that my wife got me, flying Heaton down to redo my wardrobe. It has meaningfully changed my life.
Yes, this is what I like to hear. This is great. This is such an incredible exoneration of the 15 years where people gave me shit for wearing blazers, where they were like, why are you wearing blazers all the time? It looks weird. No, it turns out I was honing my skills and I was getting ready for my 40s when it made sense. And now it's all paying off.
But you already gave away what's weird about it, is that you will wear the blazer outdoors when it's 110. Like, that's the weird part.
I don't typically do that, but like if I'm walking from my car to the house or something, like I don't know, I don't treat it like an airlock so much. Like if I'm walking from a cafe to a car, maybe I'll leave it on. I don't know. That kind of intermediate stuff is what I'm talking about. Like I wouldn't go on a walk with my dog in 110-degree heat wearing a suit.
What? No, you do that all the time.
I do it all the time when it's like
that's why you moved.
No, when I was in Austin,
fashion.
I would wear shorts and I would wear a short sleeve linen shirt while taking long sun walks.
Eventually, but there was a whole period before that where you're like, I don't know what's happening. I'm sweating through my suits, and we're like, what if you wore linen shirts and shorts? And you're like, oh, that's a thing, and then you started doing it.
Yeah, I was there when Justin taught you about linen. Like, you didn't know about it until we had the conversation.
Hey, linen's great. You know what? Thank you. That changed my life. Linen is the greatest material that has been designed by human beings, well above the height of the space shuttle. It's an incredible thing. Hey, on my end, I spent a couple days in the National Radio Silence Zone and saw a big-ass radio telescope used for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, among other things like looking for asteroids that might hit us or general scientific inquiry. It was really cool.
Did you find the aliens?
Not yet, although I did a general tour. I want to go back for the SETI tour. Apparently, they do a specific SETI tour where you get to talk to the SETI people and you get to go into the satellite. But I did the general tour, and still very, very interesting.
Wait, can you just stay there and knock out all the tours, or like is that a thing you have to schedule in advance? I'm assuming this is a show that you're putting together for orphanage, right?
Maybe, not necessarily. No, I was out there. Well, I was out there visiting with a friend, and so I got invited and went, this is great. I'd love to do this kind of thing. I might do an interview for them. I don't really know the angle for the political orphanage. Weirdly, if I do that, I do kind of want to interview some Amish people in June. I might be passing through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and an episode on intentional lack of technology could be very interesting. And if you're in the National Radio Quiet Zone, there are no cell phones because cell phone towers are prohibited by law. They've finally allowed for like the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi routers because they just can't combat them anymore. But for a long time, they were putting up a fight on that. But that's basically it. They've got Wi-Fi, but if you leave your house, no one has cell phones. And I would like to spend a little bit more time there just talking to people about what life is like if you don't have a cell phone when you go outside. Because I think that would be very interesting in terms of, are you less neurotic? Are you more happy? Are you more willfully deliberative? I don't know.
Where is this Shangri-La?
It's in West Virginia, about 4 hours southwest, I think, of the Washington, D.C. area, near Monongahela National Forest. So the last two places I've been camping in, I was actually pretty close. I just didn't realize it.
Oh, okay, because you had spent some time out there.
Monongahela National Forest is gorgeous.
Jen, did you interact with any kind of idyllic cell phone-less situation since we last spoke?
I've been in Austin treating my various injuries by doing a lot of nothing. So I've had to stop myself from being a maniac because I hurt my calf at the end of March and I just keep hurting it. So I decided
You did get a crazy rainstorm though.
Oh my God, was it a good one? It was a really good one. It was so good that Abby peed on the carpet. But yeah, this is why we wanted to stay in Austin, even though it's now getting like hotter than I enjoy. The storms were late this year. So I'm glad we stayed through May because they're just starting to ramp up now. And I'm so obsessed with lightning shows.
It's been a good storm season. We're pretty much back up to like average rainfall. I've been tracking. This is my old man dad habit that I have now, is I just obsessively track rainfall compared to historical norms. And previous to last month, there had been only 1 month that was above average rainfall since we had moved to Austin, and now it's starting to rain more, which is great because it's kind of keeping the crazy weather at bay a little bit. Because like in Texas, once it gets to 95 and above, it tends to kind of stay there, until October. And so, the further we can push toward, halfway through the year, the better. And we've had a pretty good run of like, there'll be a big rainstorm. It'll be really moderate. It'll be like downright beautiful the next day. And then it slowly kind of heats up. So I don't know. That's all I ever hope for in the summer, is just like one big rain a month so we can just break up the heat island.
Well, and it's also, I don't think I've ever seen downtown this green. We went for a walk last night.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Like, I know a lot of people say March is the most beautiful time to be in Austin, and it is because things are blooming. But this May, with all of the flowers and the dense green trees, and it's never been more beautiful. So I'm really loving being here. And because we're leaving for the summer, I'm just kind of leaning all in on just hanging out in my neighborhood, not doing a lot. It's been a really nice, peaceful few weeks.
I'll tell you, I had to drive up from Austin to Dallas, and the interstate where they have all of the bluebonnets and the Indian paintbrushes, those have all bloomed over the last couple weeks. And like, it is gorgeous, just absolutely amazing, which is awesome because it has not been like that often. We haven't had the rain to kind of show things off, but now it's all there. You're seeing what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, and it's I love this town. This is why I've moved here 4 times. I'm planning a 5th in the fall. Like, I'm just addicted to Austin. I really, really love it here. So thank you, Justin, because this is all your fault.
Yeah, there we go. I toured AT&T Stadium last night. Heaton, I know that means a lot to you.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of telecommunications, and AT&T's done fine work. What were you there for? You were advising bankers on AI?
Something like that. It's not important. What's more important is that I was at AT&T Stadium and they are rolling out the pitch for the FIFA World Cup at the place where the Dallas Cowboys play. They are currently, the pitch has to be set for 30 days before the players can play on it. And they have artificial sunlight growing the real grass that is currently on the field.
Question from the audience.
Yeah.
They require artificial sunlight in Dallas in order to grow grass? Because I could just use the sun, I think.
Well, it's indoor.
So it is a domed stadium that
okay.
does have a roof that opens up colloquially so God can watch his favorite football team is what
Could they
say.
not just open the roof then? Or is it that they're doing it at night in order to expedite the growing process?
It has to be exponentially grown. So it is all throughout the day and night they are growing this grass. It is 5 feet above where the football field is. So there's 5 feet of dirt on top of the football field because they needed to widen out the pitch because the regulation FIFA soccer field is bigger than the NFL field.
So, Justin, I'm not a huge footballer. However, this is a great example of why capitalism is so awesome. We have so much money unleashed by free enterprise that we can build a dome that opens or closes and then have lights at night to grow grass faster than God.
Yeah.
You don't get that in communist countries.
Look, I'll tell you what, Heaton. Normally I am here to cheer along all of the pro-market talk, and this is something that just might be a blind spot because you're not familiar with these players, but I'm going to stop short with anything involving FIFA.
Yeah.
Like anything, like FIFA is one of the most disgusting organizations that's ever and in fact, unlike communist Cuba, where if I talk crap about it, I'll get at least 2 or 3 people who are going to explain to me the glorious revolution and why it was somebody else's fault that it's been a murderous regime. I don't think if I talk shit about FIFA, anybody would email me. If I said FIFA's an awful organization that has condoned all of the worst of everything, the worst of socialism, the worst of capitalism, the worst of authoritarianism, the worst of anarchy. There's nothing that FIFA has not exploited so they could just make an extra dollar. They are like the worst example of anything. That being said, it is a technological marvel, and it was crazy to see a stadium that is treated like a cathedral for American sports. Even if you hate the Cowboys, you have to understand that it's an important part of the framework. That they're like, FIFA's like, yeah, put 5 feet of dirt on it and grow grass. And they're like, okay, cool, I guess so.
By the way, you didn't go to AT&T Stadium because FIFA is not allowing the stadium names if they have any kind of branding on them. So you went to the Dallas Stadium. There's also
really,
there's going to be the Miami Stadium. Like the Foxborough is going to be the Boston Stadium.
So because they have their own.
Because the brands don't want to pay FIFA, so FIFA's like, "Fuck you, you can't."
Oh, really?
Doesn't that like renege on some sort of contract Dallas did with AT&T? Like I'm guessing that AT&T paid a lot of money to put it on the side of the thing.
I don't know. The whole World Cup is like, there's so many things that are not normal about this World Cup. Like, first of all, they're going to start inserting hydration breaks that are mandatory for the players, even if they're playing indoors in a dome that's temperature controlled. They're going to have these 3-minute hydration breaks, which are really TV commercial breaks, but they're just calling it something else. Like the greed and the graft of this World Cup is off the charts.
The funniest part is, so they're, New York metropolitan area. Obviously, you have a mishmash of a million different people that would like to go see World Cup games. Next to Miami and LA, probably the biggest, or Houston or Dallas, the biggest markets in America for soccer fans, right? And yet, because they never built a stadium in Manhattan proper, everybody has to go out to New Jersey. And New Jersey is not prepared for it. New Jersey had no allotment for all the people that are going to need to go to and from MetLife Stadium. And so not only are the tickets going to be $1 kajillion, but also it's going to cost like $250 or something to get to and from Manhattan.
So I actually just looked this up. There's a shuttle bus that will take you for $80 round trip from Manhattan. If you want to take public transportation, they want $150 round trip. And there was a journalist from The Guardian who said, okay, what if I want to walk the 11 miles? So he walked the 11 miles. Some of the sidewalks disappeared. Like, it was kind of sketchy, but when he got there, they blocked off all the pedestrian entrances so you can't even walk into the stadium. Like, it's so fucked up. It's going to be an absolute disaster.
The beautiful game. Heaton, who's your World Cup favorite?
Oh, by far Luxembourg. Yeah, no, I think Luxembourg is incredibly underrated. I think Jeannie Martin has done fine work, and probably Hollow Glutenberg is an incredible point guard. So they're plucky, and I think that they're really gonna turn some heads come the pennant.
Let's go, Luxembourg. From Dallas, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young. From Austin, Texas,
I'm Jennifer Briney.
And from Washington, D.C.,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to be talking about the hantavirus. Is it a new pandemic? We discuss. And the $1 billion ballroom. Donald Trump's ballroom having a controversial appropriation of money. The White House says it's for security, but there's some frontline Republicans who are blinking at that $1 billion price tag. We will go over all that, plus your emails. We begin with the new pandemic. U.S. authorities repatriated 18 American passengers from the MV Hondias after a rare hantavirus outbreak happened aboard the ship. The passengers landed in the U.S. Monday and were taken to a specialized quarantine center for evaluation. Officials said one passenger tested positive and another showed symptoms. 2 were transported into biocontainment units. Health and Human Services earlier said that 17 Americans were being repatriated, but officials did not explain the discrepancies. A woman in France has also tested positive. Health officials emphasized that the risk to the general public remains very low. And I, for one, take no stock in that. I'm panicking. Jen, is this a new pandemic? Am I going to have to leave another city because I become disgusted with myself and my neighbors when I am forced to not leave my house?
I'm going to say a very confident no. I am not worried at all that this is going to be another pandemic. I've actually gone down this rabbit hole. And
rat hole.
Yes, rat hole. Very ding. The thing that really convinced me that made me not worried about this is the fact that they know this strain. So the strain that infected the people on the cruise ship is known as the Andes strain. It's very well known. It's been around for a long time, which means that the PCR tests work. And they just did gene sequencing on everyone that's contracted this, and it's not mutating at all. So, one of the things that was really screwing with us with COVID is it was constantly mutating. And we found that as it was mutating, it was getting more and more contagious. This is not as contagious even as the least contagious COVID was. And we know how to test for it. And so therefore we know how to contact trace, and we know what to do. So that's really reassuring to me. Now, I do think that we're going to hear more information about more confirmed cases, because apparently it can take up to 42 days for it to show itself. And so that's why we have people quarantined at this point, like all over the world. And so you will hear about more positive cases, and the less responsible people in the media will try and make it sound like a pandemic, I think, because they really like the ratings. I think that there's some really disappointing coverage right now happening that is designed to scare people, and I think it's a real shame. The one thing that I will say that I'm concerned about is that when I look at the response of this, it seems like we didn't learn a lot of lessons from COVID, because the people that were on that cruise ship before they knew that it was the hantavirus that had killed someone on the ship, they were allowed to leave. And so before we had a lot of information, we were already allowing people back into the population. So they're doing contact tracing and stuff now, but people were on airplanes. And I think that we have to be a lot more careful about when we don't know something, be more comfortable with quarantining it at the source. And we did not do that here. The other concern I have is with our own CDC. The outbreak, we pretty much knew about it on May 2nd, but our CDC, because we pulled out, and when I say we, it was the Trump administration, we pulled out of the World Health Organization again, which meant that we were not in the loop on the first round of information. We had to use informal channels. And so our CDC didn't even send out a health alert to our healthcare providers until May 8th. And we are now talking on May 13th. As of yesterday, May 12th, I know that the CDC has not had a single briefing for the public, which I think is one of the reasons that we're seeing people in the media be where everyone is turning to for information, because this version of the CDC is just not doing its job very well. And I don't think this is surprising. We've decided to reelect the people that botched the COVID response. And so they're not doing a great job with this one. But the fact that we still don't have a CDC director, which means that the Health and Human Service Secretary is still Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the lack of public discourse, like, I think we're getting lucky here that this isn't going to be a pandemic. But if we were in a situation where this were dangerous, the response that we've seen so far is deeply concerning to me. So it's not this one I'm concerned about. It's the next one because of the government response that I saw here in the United States.
Mr. Andrew Heaton?
That is a great analysis, and I agree with all of it. But just to be safe, I think we should cancel the global economy for a few months, cancel all schools, send all the kids home, and firebomb that boat. Just to be safe, to be on the safe side, I think that's what we should do. Yeah, Jen, that's really, really well put. I'm very impressed with that analysis. I would like to say I agree with it, but that would imply that I know as much about it, and I don't. I'll say on my more limited end, I am not worried about it. It is my understanding that hantaviruses in general are transmitted by rat droppings very, very rarely. They can be transmitted human to human, but they are very, very close, intimate, and rare instances in which that happens. So a husband and wife might theoretically be able to do it. It's happened in the past. That might have happened on this particular ship, but even then, as you point out, it's not mutating. And so it doesn't appear to be a situation where it's going to jump species and then go amongst us. It's a thing where you have to find a bunch of rat droppings and inhale them through the aerosol, and then you get it. So it's scary if you get it, but I'm not worried about it becoming a global pandemic at this time. I just think we should shut down the economy to be safe.
Did you hear how they think that the original person got it?
Yeah. Gallivanting around a dump with a bunch of feral rats.
Yeah, because they were bird watching at a dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what and birds are you going to see at a dump? Like, isn't
Good
it
question.
vultures? Isn't that about it?
I don't know. It's not my ideal spot for bird watching, although I'm not a weird boomer who bird watches.
Wait. So I had assumed that there was a rat infestation on the ship, and that a bunch of people would breathe it. So it is jumping from people to people. Yeah, but it's not mutating. I mean, like that.
People are showing
symptoms. It was like an excursion when they were in South America. They went on this excursion. They went to the dump. They bird watched.
Oh, okay. So they all did it. So it's not that it's jumping from person to person. Okay.
There was an older man. He got it first, and then his wife was the second victim. So they were obviously sharing the room on the cruise ship. So it's like the incubation that you need, which is like close quarters for a long time. That's possible on the cruise ship. And so that's why you're seeing it transmitting there. Okay. What we're excited to see is that the people that were in the airplanes, like there was a flight attendant that we were worried about for a minute, like she's fine. So we're not seeing it spread beyond the cruise ship people. And I know that all of the American ones are now in a containment center in Nebraska for an undeterminate amount of time, but they seem to be in good spirits. There's one guy who's documenting all of it on the internet. So he's been an entertaining watch, but like they seem to be fine. They're all contained here in the United States. So it's like, I think we're in a really good spot with this one.
I think it's a good job with this one because we know it's not a Chinese bioweapon that we refuse to label a Chinese bioweapon. I was about to
say,
I feel like in hindsight, the real problem with the COVID thing was that we had a Chinese bioweapon that we refused to call a Chinese bioweapon. And that's where it's like, look, the WHO, I totally agree with you, Jen. This is a scenario where the WHO is doing a really, really, really good job, but I don't have a problem with us getting out of it when they refuse to acknowledge that there was a Chinese bioweapon that shut down the world's economy. Like that's where that system broke down. And I really, really wish we had a competent international organization that would be able to keep our health at the front lines.
Agree to disagree. I'm very worried that this virus could get worse. And for that reason, I think we should very quietly shuffle a few $1 billion to a lab somewhere in Wuhan to just try to make it as bad as it possibly can be so that we can measure it, knowing that it'll never get out.
Let me backtrack and be serious for a second, because Justin, you said that you don't mind us pulling out of the World Health Organization.
Yes.
The way I see it, like the World Health Organization is the organization that we have to organize the world in this regard. So it's like, they didn't do a good job with COVID. I think it would be wise for us to remain in it because we are so influential in it and change it from the inside instead of being like, well, fuck it, we'll just do it on our own.
Yeah, I'm not totally against that. Like, I don't have a burning hatred for the WHO. I just think that they're a feckless organization that when it came time for them to really show their mettle, they did not. They were controlled by China. And I do think that when we, like right now, why did you say that we feel better about this? We've sequenced the virus. We have, we know what PCR tests work. We have a general scope of exactly what it is and why it happened. It's not shocking that a bunch of dork birders at a dump got, smelled rat shit. And now all of a sudden we have this problem. That's a reasonable way that these kinds of things happen. It's totally different night and day from the story we were sold with COVID. And then when it became clearer and clearer and clearer that not only were people covering their tracks on the Wuhan virus, but then we send the WHO out and they're banned from going to the caves that we believe the virus was weaponized from. There's no pushback. They put a milquetoast statement out there and China's allowed to continue to lie about it. That's like the kind of stuff that I think I'm fine with us coming to a fork in the road and saying either you failed this test and now we need to create a new solution so we don't have these problems anymore, or we reform it from the inside. But I do think that scenario brought us to a breaking point. And I think watching a potential deadly virus like we are here and knowing what we know, how important that is, how important it is to know exactly where this kind of stuff came from, underlines that.
Yeah. I just don't like that our CDC, it's not like we're creating a separate organization to organize the world. We're just going it alone. That's my biggest concern. If there was a parallel organization that was being created so that we could coordinate with the Europeans and the people in South America.
Maybe the Board of Health, like the Board of Peace, like we're going to replace the UN. We'll have the Board of Health next.
Yeah, because the Board of Peace is obviously a thing that exists and is doing a lot of work.
It's a board. It's very peaceful. We can do the Board of Health. We can have RFK Jr. talk about how the teenagers don't have enough cum in their balls. Like all the important things that matter in the world. And
gosh, I hope that RFK Jr. is able to get a really big job like that after the Trump administration concludes. This might be the way for him to have a golden parachute.
I really just hope that the Kennedys can get some breaks. It's about time that poor family got something,
Yep.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Jen, go further into the idea of some of the media malpractice that has happened around this. I have not watched a lot of 24-hour news. I don't know if CNN is into their floating germ graphics like they were with COVID.
Before Jen jumps into that, I'll say I was talking to a colleague on Thursday, and he was just like, well, we're all going to die. The hantavirus is out. And I was like, good morning. What is a hantavirus? Like, I don't even know what this is. And he's like, we'll probably have another lockdown. And I'm like, well, I'll kill myself. Like, it was just a very, it was like, yep, I'll eat a bullet. We're locking down. Bang. Hope that doesn't happen. And so I'm quite pleased that we don't seem to be going that direction. Yeah, Jen, what is the situation in terms of media?
I mean, what I have witnessed, it's obviously a lot of social media stuff, but there's people that are reporting on the scary stuff and leaving out the parts where it's like, oh, here's the background on the hantavirus. This isn't new. This isn't, all that transmissible. Like, they're not doing the nuance that you need. So it's like, yes, you want to know that there's people on this cruise ship. Where did they go? Like that type of information, but they're leaving out the stuff that would stop their clip from going viral because someone sends it to their mom being like, by the way, oh my God, we might have another COVID. I think people are purposely trying to get that share to happen by freaking people out. And then when I see the media, I will say, I think it was CNN, but I'm not entirely sure. But Jon Stewart did a piece on this where there's a woman where she's just asking questions, but she's asking witness after witness after witness, just like, so is this going to be a pandemic? And it's like, in asking the questions that you're choosing, those create fear themselves. So it's like, once you have the answer, instead of going forward from there and be like, okay, it's not a pandemic, but what is this? They keep asking the scary questions over and over and over and over again. And so it's, I think it is a ploy to get people to share the content and freak people out. And that it's a really good way to weed out who you should trust and who you shouldn't. Because if right now on May 13th, if you're seeing someone online who's telling you something about the hantavirus that is scary with no nuance, unfollow, delete them from your brain bank of trusted people, because I am seeing entirely too much of that. And you can understand it when you understand that like the share, makes it, the algorithm suggest you more often. I mean, if you understand the business of why people do this, you understand why they do it. They're not necessarily like trying to be horrible. They're just trying to get the clicks. But I've seen enough people concerned about it out in the wild, because like this weekend I was sitting there doing nothing, watching other people play volleyball the entire weekend. And you could hear people buzzing about it. It was something that had broken through, being like, are we going to have another COVID? Da, da, da. So it's like, people are concerned to a level that I don't think is justified by the science. And that angers me a lot.
Disgusting behavior. Imagine
I listened to
starting a podcast with it and just labeling it the new lockdown being the title of the podcast, just so people click. Just disgusting, reprehensible behavior. No, I will do it.
Oh, okay.
Will, remember to title the podcast the new lockdown for real this time.
I buy all of this. This is one of the sad things about, like, one of the benefits to a current media landscape is the gatekeepers are dead. One of the downsides is that with the gatekeepers being dead, it's just whatever algorithmically
warlords.
Works. And warlords know that fear will go faster than nuance. On my end, to try to educate myself to some extent on this, I listened to a podcast with two very informed ladies for about an hour explaining the hantavirus. And by the end of it, I just wanted to go, what? Why is there this genre of women wallowing in death? Like there's just like, I've heard multiple podcasts now, like they're drinking, but it's this like very chipper, upbeat wallowing in death. We're drinking quarantinis and we're going to talk about oopsie doopsies that kill people. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, why? Like, is this some bizarre way of dealing with neurosis that women have? I don't get. There's all these serial killer podcasts out there of ladies that just revel happily in these horrible things. And then everybody watch. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on here.
Are the women okay, Jen? What's happening with what's happening with these women?
I genuinely don't know. Like, I do have friends that are that into the serial killer stuff, and I find that it upsets me. And so I don't listen to it. And it makes me think the world is a more dangerous place. But I know exactly the phenomenon you're talking about is very real, because there are so many successful true crime podcasts, and it's mainly women that are, I wish I could give you some kind of insight into this, but I don't get it. I don't want to listen to that stuff.
There's a friend of mine here in DC who listens to this stuff, like, and it like to the point where it's almost like some kind of weird revenge porn that she's consuming. And her explanation is, well, I need to know in case they ever come for me. And I'm like, I bet you that there's just like a 1-page synopsis of stuff that you could read somewhere to know for best practices. Like, I don't know that you need to consume hour after hour of this. It's something else.
There is something to that, because for a while, because it was constantly on headline news, we would watch Forensic Files. And I do feel like Joe and I a lot of times were watching it because there was information about, now for us, it was like, how do you hide the body? We have a lot of opinions about like, you should just set it on fire, like clearly set it on fire.
No, boat. It's got to be the boat. You got to,
There's
that's
different
the only way
ways
to go
to do it. But there is something to the idea of, from hearing other people's stories, you can hear how they escaped or how they didn't escape. So I'm thinking like specifically, I remember one of these episodes, the woman had got thrown in a trunk and didn't know that there was a little latch in there that you could hit and get out of the trunk. And had she known that, she would have survived. So I do think that if you listen to a lot of these stories, like here's a sick one that I did. I have watched multiple tsunami videos where I watched the tsunamis from the Christmas tsunami from start to finish. It's like 4 hours long. And I witnessed like what it looks like when the water goes out, which
you watched the whole thing
multiple
4
times.
Hours?
Yes.
Like an extended Lord of the Rings? Like really?
Yes. Because they
in
have
real
these security
time,
cameras
not
up.
fast, not at
think
2
about
times speed.
No, I watched it in real time, because if you look at the Japanese, they love their cameras, and so they had these cameras.
Sick bitch.
But here's the thing. From doing that, if I am ever on an island, which with me is likely, I love island culture, I'm going to know what it's going to look like. I will know that if the sea pulls out at a certain pace, I will know that that's not just a tidal change, that could be something that you need to run from. If you see the fish are still flopping around, like if the sea pulled out so fast that the fish couldn't adjust, that's when you need to get to higher ground. I now know that the thing that you should do is find a boat as fast as you can and get your ass out to sea. It's like counterintuitive, but like that's how you survive these things. And so I think there is something to the idea of watching things that scare you in order to learn the lessons without having to physically learn the lessons.
Okay. Jen, if you die in a tsunami, I'm going to have no sympathy for you with this.
I know.
I'll be like, that
You
dumb
shouldn't.
bitch. She should know everything that was coming. She was busy playing volleyball. She got wiped out. It's her own damn fault. She could have just got on a boat.
Yeah. I got really upset with this guy from Japan because he was standing in a boat and the water was going out and you could see that he decides to leave the boat. And I was like, oh my God, get in the boat, go out to sea. I think about that man like way too often.
Help me with this. So is the idea then that you're trying to like drive up over the tsunami so you don't like flip over, or are you trying to get away from it as you would a tornado where you're driving orthogonally to it?
Well, it's a wave, right? So it's
Right.
like if you're in the ocean behind the wave, then you can't get hit by the wave. So it's
So
like
you got to
if
get
you've ever-
behind the wave.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if,
it's
if
like
it's
the
going
water's
north-south,
pushing
you're going
inland.
east-west to try to get out away from it, and then you come back behind it?
It's not really like directional. You just want to be out in the ocean because if you think about it, like what's dangerous is all of this like wall of water coming onto.
And
The ocean,
The,
and, like,
the wall
what-
will get higher and higher the closer it gets, whereas it's
Well,
just
yeah, and, like,
an
the
energy form
wall-
when it's out there.
The wall of water is grabbing the chairs and the wood and the houses and the cars and the, all the stuff
Oh, so
that it hits.
even if you were to survive the wall of water itself, that's the best thing to deal with as opposed to when it starts throwing debris, which will really kill you.
Yes, because you're basically in a washing machine full of shit that can kill you, like with nails and wood things and a
Gotcha.
car that can take you. Like, but if you're out to sea, especially if you're on a boat, if you're sitting on top of the water, way out there, you're chilling. But even if you're in the water, like I think even if I didn't have a boat, I would try to swim out to sea. I don't know if I'd survive because I could just get sucked into the wall, and like be a part of it. But it's better than being on land. Like
Yeah.
for sure. So it's like your best play is to get in a boat. And we saw this in Hawaii, actually. When Joe and I were living in Hawaii, we lived on the 24th floor of a tower and we had a tsunami warning. And so what we saw, the alarms went off at 6 a.m. It was supposed to hit us at 11:05. And so from our vantage point, we could see that they emptied out Pearl Harbor. So all of the warships, the big satellite bubble thing, they pushed that out to sea. Like anyone that could get out to their boats in the Waikiki Harbor did so. And it was just this incredible parade of all the boats in Honolulu going out to sea. They stayed out there for the afternoon, and then around sunset, they all came back in. And it's those type of things. When you witness these, you're like, why would they do that? And then you understand it because you've witnessed it, whether it's online or in person, and you kind of know how to prepare for the future. So for serial killer stuff, how did the person escape? What did they not know? Which you can find out through the stories. I do think there is a preparedness argument to it.
Jen Briney's True Tsunami podcast. Heaton?
Oh, I would love to do that one.
I mean, I'm with you on this. I like, and there's like kind of a male equivalent of learning shit about bears, right? So I like preparation, right? It's the wallowing that disturbs me. It's the like kind of like marinating in horror.
Well,
that,
I think
that
what
find
you're
odd.
what you're identifying, Heaton, is the flippancy, like as any art form goes forward. So like you're right, Jen, like Forensic Files and stuff like that was like the beginning of this true crime thing. And then it evolves in a podcast genre to like very serious, grave descriptions of like, and then she led a drifter into her car. And it was at that point that she was never seen again. And then like any art form, it evolves. And so then you get like My Favorite Murder. And you have all these shows where it's like two comedians cut it up while we talk about somebody who really died. Like
I listened to a BBC broadcast on the hantavirus. The entire 26 minutes encompassed 3 different stories. It was about 12 minutes to cover the hantavirus. It was everything I needed to know. The other one, while very, very well informed, was like, the year is 1993. Beanie Babies have just dropped. Oh my God. And someone's lungs melted. Like that. And I was like, this is just a bizarre genre to me.
Patreon.com/We're Not Wrong, where you need to go if you want to support the show. You get a bonus episode each and every week if you do just that. And this week, we're going to be talking about the fact that 1/4 of all Americans think that the most recent assassination attempt on the president was fake, which is funny because the guy who tried to kill the president thought the last assassination attempt was fake. concerning. I don't know.
Wait, hold
Maybe.
on a minute. Because I just to dip into this, the last guy, like the guy at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he thought the previous one was fake?
Yeah.
The Butler one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's like, someone needs to try this for real.
We'll
Oh my God.
wow. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing a bad pattern here. We'll get into this after the paywall.
We'll get it. Yeah, exactly. Pay us money, you freaks. Give us cash. You gotta pay into the till if you want to get in the
We
tent.
just fucking saved your lives from a tsunami. There will be
Exactly.
a moment where
That's
God
real.
tries to kill you with a wave, and Jen Briney, like some kind of Neptune courtesan, crawled out of the water and saved your ass. Give us cash.
Like a storm goddess who knows
Yes.
all the things.
Exactly. And all we had to do was force you to click on this podcast by calling it the new lockdown instructions you need to follow.
Are you actually going to do that? You are.
I mean, the episode titled, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I know. Should I add breaking? Breaking the new lockdown.
Wrong alert. New lockdown.
At least the audience knows I will have nothing to do with it. So
You
blame
won't believe
Justin.
these 3 weird things that save you from lockdown.
I will say that's one of my favorite Drudgeisms before Drudge went crazy. The headline or the genre of headline, House of Filth, which I feel like House of Filth could have gone to describe this hantavirus situation with these lunatics like licking rat shit so they can look at a blue jay or whatever the fuck they were doing.
At a dump. Like, can't you find a lake, you weirdos?
Birders are apparently sick people. This is what I learned in researching this, was that somebody on Twitter was like, I could have sworn as soon as I heard that somebody got the hantavirus on an island off the coast of Argentina, I'm like, birders, they're lunatics. They'll go anywhere so they can look at a bird through a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, I got angry at birders. We were on a tour of the Everglades and we were all excited to see alligators because, of course, you want to see the dinosaurs. And everyone else on the boat was like, look at the bird. And I'm like, fuck the bird. There's a dinosaur right there. What's the matter with you people? We were like legit upset with our with our boat mates. Priorities were all messed up.
Republican leaders are facing internal resistance over a $1 billion Secret Service funding request in a party-line immigration enforcement bill. The money, labeled for White House quote-unquote security adjustments and upgrades, could partly support Trump's controversial Ballroom project. Republican senators, including Rand Paul, Tom Tillis, and Susan Collins, want more details, with Paul opposing its inclusion and Collins saying that the Ballroom should be privately funded. Secret Service Director Sean Curran is going to brief, I think he might have already briefed Senate Republicans yesterday. Democrats may challenge the provision under the reconciliation rules, arguing that it is an impermissible earmark, so it might be wiped away by way of the bird bath. House Republicans privately worry that the request looks politically tone-deaf as new inflation figures show that the Strait of Hormuz closure in Iran has indeed brought pain to the pocketbooks of the American public. Mr. Andrew Heaton, is $1 billion for security worth it?
Yes. I think for the Ballroom, yes. I think $1 billion is. Yeah, I'm with Rand Paul on this. I think that it is understandable why, in light of recent tensions and security escalations, that the Secret Service would genuinely want upgrades to try to staunch political violence against the president. I think that is a realistic consideration from the Secret Service. Stuffing a vaguely worded $1 billion White House security provision into a bill that was sold to the public as immigration enforcement is at best politically clumsy. If it's really about the president, let's make a bill about that. If this is actually subsidizing Trump's Ballroom project, which was sold to the American people as something entirely funded by the private sector, then I think you should come out and be honest about it. And I don't like all of this on 2 counts. I don't like it, one, because I do think that this is an excessive amount of money for a ballroom that we were told was going to be privately funded and then just part of the general White House apparatus. But on a larger level, when Congress relies on, oh shit, pass this or die legislation to get anything done, and then slips things into it that are ambiguous in order to get little slush funds going for whatever they want, that makes everything ambiguous. It erodes public trust, and it just makes everything look suspicious. It hurts the actual political process. So I think that this is bad for Congress. I think this is duplicitous from the executive branch. And I think it's problematic for governance in general. If they're going to do it, come out and say, what is the thing you want? And let's do it separately rather than slip it into an, oh shit, we're all going to die bill. Here's a vague $1 billion request.
Jen?
So I want to make sure that people understand what this bill is. It's another reconciliation bill. We can probably just like refer to it as the Big Beautiful Bill Part 2, because this is the bill that they want to stuff as much as they can get in to get around the Democrats. And so just like with the Big Beautiful
Bill. Because the Democrats
bill,
shut down they would not fund DHS.
I mean, ostensibly, like that's what this is for, but like it's not. They've always talked about doing 2 reconciliation bills. There was one in the first year, one in the second. So like, yeah, they want to give more money to ICE and Border Patrol, but you're going to see a lot of shit stuffed in there because they're going to try and get as much as they possibly can around the Democrats' filibuster. So it's like the fact that this is in there is not surprising at all. The fact it's the bullshit of it all that's irritating here. There was an injunction that stopped the construction of the ballroom. And in the injunction, because you can't just say like you can't do any construction at the White House, the judge said, quote, actions strictly necessary to ensure the safety and security of the White House and its grounds, unquote, are allowed. That is why this is being branded by the White House as a thing for security. So they're saying that like the bunker that they want to put underneath and the ballroom, it's all for security because there's going to be like gun-proof windows or whatever. The judge got really pissed about this. And
probably a good idea, by the way. They should have gun-proof windows on the new ballroom.
Which they're going to, but the idea that the ballroom is for security purposes, it's a way to get around the injunction. And the judge straight up said it. He said, quote, the defendants argued that the entire ballroom construction project from tip to tail falls within the safety and security exception and therefore may proceed unabated. That is neither a reasonable nor a correct reading of my order, exclamation point, unquote. So the judge is really pissed about this. He clarified that the bunker construction, which could be considered a security expense, that's allowed to continue. But the ballroom on top is not for security. And the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the United States successfully sued to stop this ballroom because it hasn't been approved by Congress. And it still hasn't been approved by Congress. And if you look at the wording of the bill, that still doesn't approve a ballroom in Congress. There is no authorization for this, even if they provide the money. When you build something, there's a two-part process. You have to authorize the thing. You have to give permission. So like with our war activities, we have the National Defense Authorization Act every year. That's the permission slip. Then you do the money. Then you do the appropriations. The Republicans are trying to flip that. They're trying to do appropriations first. And so far, authorization still does not exist. And so this injunction still wouldn't be satisfied even if they do slip the money into law. So it's very bullshitty. And then there's also like the broken promises, which I know we're talking about the Trump administration here, but we should still point them out. They did say it would be $400 million funded with private money. Now it's $1 billion of our tax money, which I do think we can be upset about because it's a vanity project for Donald Trump. Now, Andrew and I think Justin have all agreed that like we don't care that much. But at the same time,
also, he's not going to get to use it. He's certainly not with the delays now. Even if it was built at the time frame, I think he would have, even at the most aggressive version, I think he would have gotten maybe 1 or 2 events on the way out.
I don't think he cares so much about having the parties as having his legacy. Like he loves having the Trump branded buildings in every single city with Trump being huge. He wants that ballroom to be the thing that he put on that White House forevermore. Yeah. Like it's the legacy that he's going for. It is a vanity project. And I think
that is kind of needed.
I don't care. Like the problem is that it's not his house. It's still not his house.
Yeah,
when he tore down the East Wing, it was not his house. When he's building this against a court order, against the whole process, without Congress's approval, it's not his house. He doesn't get to do this unilaterally. And now he's doing it not only unilaterally, but with our money. And so the people who are upset about it, I get it because it's broken promise. There's no permission. And now he wants us to pay for it. Like, I get the anger about it. But again, like, even if this bill passes, even if they get this reconciliation bill, the authorization still doesn't exist. And so who knows if this will move forward.
I mean, whether or not, I mean, where we are in the chain of judicial judgments on whether or not Donald Trump has the ability to do work on the White House. I don't know where that is. I don't know if there's an appeal on top of wherever that judge's ruling was. I don't know where this $1 billion is going. I suspect, some of the tenor, and I did not see Curran's testimony on this, is that there's like been this kind of dance around like, oh, we're doing a lot of other stuff that's beneath the ballroom. And I don't know whether or not that is upgrades to things that they want to keep secret, like security protocols or tunnels or things that are there for the president. Like there's different ways that the president can get in and out of the White House without anybody knowing, or bunkers, or if they're putting equipment or anything down there that would be beneficial to intelligence agencies. Like I have,
or beds
I have no
for
idea.
Cabinet secretaries and their fuck buddies. All the secret stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't. $1 billion's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
isn't that what the Cowboy Stadium cost? Wasn't that $1 billion?
1.4 billion is what they said during the tour.
But that wasn't
that's barely an
taxpayer money.
Instagram.
Oh, wait.
Oh, Jesus.
But
this
still,
fucking
you
guy.
built the Cowboy Stadium for a similar amount, and you're gonna spend that much on a ballroom? Like, that seems expensive to me.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I would say whenever you're dealing with stuff like that is like nobody who works on that, you're not like speccing that out to the lowest bidder. Right, like you are dealing with the highest possible clearance that is going to be building infrastructure that nobody in the world is supposed to know about. That like foreign intelligence agencies aren't supposed to have the exact map of how the president would get in and out of the White House. And if you're building something new, then obviously you want elements to it that will remain secret ostensibly forever. I don't know. The whole ballroom thing just seems so fucking weird, because if there's anything that everybody should be able to agree on is like, yeah, let them build a fucking ballroom so nobody has to go out into a tent ever again, and you're capping like world events at 100 people that all have to get their shoes muddy. Like it seems like a worthwhile addition to the White House, and if that's his thing that he wants to be the thing forever, kind of fits. I don't know. He likes building ballrooms. Like the White House needs an event space. It seems like
but like request it. Like go through the thing. I'm not I don't have a problem with him redoing the White House. I think that the concern about that was really overblown. Most people don't understand that we redid the whole thing under Truman. The Lincoln bedroom's not from the Lincoln period. It's decorated like Lincoln. It dates to the Truman administration. Like most of the White House isn't actually that old. It's just the frame and the external part that's old. And we've kept that. We do keep that. So I'm not bothered by that. I'm not bothered by adding a ballroom to it. I think you could make a very good case that this is a legitimate function of state because we're going to be entertaining foreign diplomats. That is the thing that the president should be doing. Arguably, the country would be better if the president spent more time hanging out with foreign diplomats than fucking with shit. So there's a good amount of stuff going there. I just don't want it being snuck into congressional legislation through ambiguous
But even
language.
then, this is the thing where it's like, I don't know. It just gets into like bullshit on top of bullshit on top of bullshit, where it's like, okay, so we had an agreement on appropriations, and then the shootings in Minneapolis happened, and so then it was a DHS shutdown, but then John Thune couldn't make the Democrats pay politically, so now you got to do DHS funding through reconciliation, and they're like, oh, we want a skinny reconciliation, meaning that you're only going to fund ICE and CPB, and then they're going to do another bill that they already passed. And it's like, okay, so now we're doing a 2-track thing, but the House doesn't want to vote for the second part that funds the rest of DHS until they do the reconciliation. So the Senate's like, okay, we'll be very skinny. Bullshit. Whenever there's anything that can be done without objection, then you're going to jam everything you possibly can, no matter how quote unquote skinny you want it to be. And so this is one of the hangers on that comes back through the portal to the Senate to be like, okay, you're going to vote for it. And so now we get back into the ballroom discourse, buoyed by the idea that it's $1 billion. And then we're going to layer on like, okay, but it's also kind of top secret, and Political violence is on the rise. So it's like, I don't know. I just kind of throw up my hands and just kind of wish that like, hey, could we just be adults and fucking settle the appropriations thing so we can not fund key elements of our government through reconciliation, which seems A, stupid in general, and B, political malpractice from the Republican side. The fact that they couldn't break the Democrats on this is just going to mean that we're going to be doing this shit for the rest of all of our lives, that whenever anything happens, and that threshold is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, as it always does in politics, we're going to have shutdowns aplenty, and it's only going to hurt more and more people now that both parties have seen fruit from it from some level. And then we have this thing where it's like, okay, it's halfway between Donald Trump wants gold urinals and the fact that we want to be able to build anti-Chinese jamming technology into the, foundation of this new bunker or something like that we're not allowed to say, but it apparently cost $1 billion. I don't know. It's like we get into such a rat's nest of horse shit that I don't even know where to pull and who to blame on it.
I blame Trump. It just feels pretty easy because this is something that we could be doing as a country and celebrating. Like, if we wanted to replace the East Wing with a ballroom, we could have had a ceremony where we say goodbye to the history that was in the East Wing and not had it be so shocking to people as it was when let me speak, Justin. The bulldozer showed up. People were upset about it, had a lot of feelings. It didn't have to be this way. And like, we have gotten around to the point, I think all three of us, where we can see the wisdom of the ballroom. This is something where the American people could have been consulted through our representatives. This is something that we could have been excited about. It didn't have to be this way, but because he just did it without any of the usual processes, without the consent of really anyone. Like, it wasn't just Congress. It was the preservation, the National Trust for the Historical Preservation in the United States. There were the commissions. Like, he just went and did it as if it was his house. I think that is where the emotion comes from in this. And I think that's where the opposition comes from. And I think a lot of that is also bleeding over into Congress because the people that were upset seeing the bulldozers take down the East Wing with no permission, that is now spilling over into the Ballroom project itself. Even though there's nothing there and you can say you want something there, the emotions of that are just going to cause a lot of resistance because of how this is being done. It's the how that's upsetting people, not necessarily the what.
Trump is what causes the resistance. And if he went to Congress and said, I wanted to build a ballroom, I do not think there is any fucking world where it wouldn't have been a gigantic oppositional wall by Democrats for whom are just triggered by anything that he does.
But it's this fucking behavior that makes people hate him so much. Maybe if he wasn't him,
of course, but he is. But we know. I mean, look, it's like.
But after 3 assassination attempts, I do think it becomes a lot more politically available to the Republicans to say, "Hey, there's a need for this." If they hadn't already bulldozed the East Wing, like that's the issue. Like their behavior is leading to the resistance.
I also just I don't know. I thought it was dumb when Republicans got freaked out about Obama building shit in the White House and making a basketball court and everything. Like, I think it's such a, like, I don't know. It ranks around like the president golfs too much among my like least favorite partisan tropes.
But what about the idea that we're now being expected to pay for this when we were told that at the very least we weren't?
Again, that's something where I would love to know everything I'm legally allowed to know about what they want to do in terms of the security stuff. Because I could imagine, I don't know about $1 billion, but then again, I have no idea what government contracting is when you have to do it on like top secret. I don't know who the top secret concrete layer is that layers the concrete for the bunker or whatever.
Well, I mean, top secret and Trump connected. So there's probably like a tax on top of it that's like the graft tax from these people. Like, I don't trust where the contracts are going to. So that's the other thing, like this price tag. I think because of the people involved, I think we have justifiable concerns that a lot of it's just going to get sucked out into people's pockets.
My issue isn't the concerns. My issue is just that we're here. That it's like that it's happening in a fucking reconciliation package. I agree with you. I don't want it in a reconciliation package. I don't want it in a must pass thing. But I also think that we should have fucking been able to fund the goddamn government, not on a party line reconciliation.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm very open to any and all Trump critiques, as you know. But like, passing stuff as a last minute, oh shit, omnibus bill, doing everything through reconciliation to avoid the filibuster. That's all pre-Trump stuff, is it not? I mean, this is a
both
problem
parties do it.
in Congress.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not even making a partisan statement. There's an institutional problem that has been going on now for 20 years that we need to figure out how to address.
No, for sure. And a lot of it comes down to the broken government funding process. I do want to be clear about this particular reconciliation bill, though. There's nothing must sign about this. If this doesn't happen, there's really no consequences, because the Big Beautiful Bill funded ICE with approximately 8 years worth of their annual budget. The Border Patrol got about 2.5 years worth of their annual budget. So they are in no danger of not being able to function if they don't get any more money. So this reconciliation bill is a choice. If it goes down entirely, everyone is perfectly fine. So this is basically like the Republicans just trying to get shit into
I don't
law.
know about perfectly fine. I've heard
It's
conflicting.
perfectly fine.
I have heard conflicting things about exactly how much they can access of that Big Beautiful Bill money, and I also don't think that we should be getting into a point where we're just not funding the parts of the government that existed before. And I understand that there are issues about rogue behavior, but like, I don't know. We're just at a point now where the political benefit is so much greater than thinking about funding the government. And I'm not putting this entirely on the Democrats, although they're the ones doing it right now. Like the benefit is so great that nobody is coming back to them and saying like, oh, you are not funding DHS, like because you are throwing a fit about these two these two parts of it. Like
These are all very, very good criticisms. Maybe if we give them more power and money,
Okay.
he said it. He said it.
they'll fix everything.
I could tell by the look on your face that was coming.
Yeah.
So here's what's supposed to happen that isn't happening. We funded almost all of the government at this point for 2026, except for ICE and Customs and Border Patrol.
No, they haven't passed the DHS one, right?
No, they have. So 20 out of the 22 agencies are now funded for 2026 in DHS. DHS is no longer shut down. The only two parts of DHS that weren't properly funded were ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. I just read the bill. Or
Okay.
ICE and
So
Customs and Border Patrol.
So the House passed the Senate thing.
The
that
thing
was
that the
everything
Democrats
but-
proposed the whole fucking time is what became
yeah,
law.
but also
yes.
it's like I hate that argument because it's like okay, so now we're just rewarding. I hope everybody keeps the same energy the next time that the Republicans throw an immature shit fit about something that they don't want funded, and they say no, fund the hole in the middle version, and everybody's going to be super cool with it, as opposed to the way that it had worked before, which is no, punish the party that is not funding this shit until they fund this shit.
Yes and no. I don't think that it is that uncommon to fund the stuff that is non-controversial and then find the common ground. Like what should be happening if we had adults in the room is that ICE and BP or Customs and Border Patrol, they should be in a process right now of working on those funding bills, finding some kind of behavior, like finding some kind of common ground there. Instead of doing that and trying to properly fund them, that's why we're moving into reconciliation, because the Republicans are like, fuck you, we're not going to compromise with you at all, despite American debts. We are instead going to do this without you.
I think that's aggressive,
being a reconciliation bill. And so the problem is the problem with so much in Congress boils down to a broken funding process. And that is where this reconciliation bill is coming from. Although, like I said, if it wasn't this, it was going to be something else, because they only have these two options in a Congress. A Congress is 2 years long. They wanted two reconciliation bills. So if it wasn't this, they were going to have another reason to have a reconciliation bill. They just want to have one more opportunity to get around the Democrats. So this is what's being used. But if you actually are concerned about ICE and Border Patrol, it's the funding process. It's not really about reconciliation. It's the funding process that's broken.
I agree with you. I do agree. I think we might disagree on exactly who has blood on their hands in terms of not being an adult, but like
everyone. Fucking everyone. I don't think we disagree on that. They're all wrong.
But yeah, I do think you should not be funding fucking ICE and CPB in reconciliation. Like that should not be a thing that you are doing. They should be
getting temporary normal funding, a continuing resolution while they work out their differences, and then they get normal funding. That's how this is supposed to work.
Yes.
And it's not working. They're not even trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they tried and they were unable to do it. And again, I think politically,
they didn't fucking try. They were on vacation most of the time.
yeah, I don't know. That's I have heard tell that like that's actually when more negotiation happens is when they are not being asked by reporters. But like, the reality is that the political benefit for both sides is too great to compromise. Like they will get punished if they compromise. We are in a place where that is bad.
Punished by who?
The voters and the powers that be and the donors, like that, and the activists.
It's the second and the third that they're concerned about. And the voters are so uneducated on Congress that we don't know about any of this. Like the details of this go over everyone's heads.
All right. Well, I'm glad we solved it. We're not wrong pod at gmail.com, where you need to go if you want to write into this show. We talked about Spirit Airlines last week. Agree to disagree on the following statement writes, the downfall of Spirit Airlines is a win for consumers as it represents the market rejecting the enshittification of air travel. Agree or disagree, Jen?
I don't know about that. I do know that a lot of people really liked Spirit. Like, I'm not one of them. I know a lot of people are not.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe these people?
I mean, I'm not going to denigrate the Spirit flyers, but it wasn't the people that kept me off Spirit. I don't like the business model, so I wasn't flying it. And I am a bit of a snob. I love Southwest. But I don't think that an airline that was offering the lowest prices going down can ever be called a win for consumers. Like, I can't agree with that.
Eaton, agree or disagree? It was good Spirit went down because it rejected the enshittification of airline travel.
I love this. I love this question. It's very good verbal jujitsu, where either way you have to endorse the market or agree with the concept of enshittification. And so I recuse myself from it. I don't know.
Oh, stop it. Fuck you.
Then
Agree or disagree?
Then no. I think like all things being equal, I don't think the way you make better options is getting rid of worse options. So keep the shitty option available. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if they ran a business that could keep themselves alive, which they weren't able to do. But I would have liked if Spirit were running well, but running an airline is really hard. There's a reason why they go out of business all the time. Leave Lena Alone writes, what's the difference between JetBlue and Frontier? If Heaton's unfounded bigotry of Lena Khan is dismissed, well, JetBlue is part of the American Airline One World Alliance, which is shared market concentration for JetBlue that doesn't exist for Frontier. The concern for JetBlue's rejection was told to the Spirit shareholders, so the decision to forego Frontier's merger in favor of the unlikely merger with JetBlue is not the Biden administration's fault, but the Spirit executive's fault. Though through the JetBlue partnership with American, the gates in Boston, New York, and other destinations were not in want, but the pilots' planes were so JetBlue will get those planes in Spirit's liquidation and suppress competition, which was the actual intent of the merger. Frontier being able to expand into new destinations would have kept up market competition, which is why the JetBlue merger was rejected. Having Frontier exerting pressure on the price point for the consumer and competition for labor is doing what Heaton claimed he wants, but wouldn't exist in a JetBlue acquisition of Spirit nor Spirit shuttering, demonstrating Bork's perspective that concentration of market actors should be allowed until it becomes a monopoly with a single competitor is wrong-headed. Heaton, answer for your crimes.
I struggled to follow that a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to work my way through it. So first, in terms of my unfounded bigotry of Lena Khan, a couple of years ago when we were talking about the Trump prosecution in New York, where they made Trump a felony because he paid off Stormy Daniels through improper bookkeeping, and they subdivided the exact payments into different operations in order to drag out. If you guys remember all of that stuff, as a very anti-Trump guy, I had a problem with that because it was selective prosecution. It was, I have a prearranged position that I am determined to get to, and I'm going to figure out how to make the law get us there. That is my problem with Lena Khan. is Lena Khan's prearranged position, which I'm sure she legitimately believes for very good reasons, is corporations are too big and too powerful. We need to make them smaller, and we need to block mergers from happening because it makes them larger. We will use monopoly law in order to do that, and we will redefine markets in order to make anything I don't want to get bigger a monopoly by a new definition. That's the reason that I don't like Lena Khan. I think that that's problematic. To the specifics of, well, and I'll add, like, yes, I do like the Borkian position. I think that that is the most like demonstrably empirical way we can go about doing this. And for that reason, I disagree with her market concentration thesis. But I think she also does an ultimate disservice to anti-monopoly laws in general by using a very predetermined selective way of doing things. I think that undercuts the idea of monopoly. If it's going to be a smokescreen for being anti-corporate, then that ends up filtering into all subsequent interpretations of anti-monopoly law. If you're worried about monopolies, and I'm very opposed to monopolies, then having it be a Trojan horse for something else is going to undermine the efficacy of doing that later. In terms of the specifics that you bring up, I am less familiar with this, but I think what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that Spirit Airlines could have gone with Frontier. They wanted to go with JetBlue. However, Frontier and Spirit, the reason that Spirit didn't want to go with Frontier was because Frontier was in the Northeast Alliance with JetBlue, and so they already kind of had a partnership there, and that would have been the better one. That had they gone with Frontier rather than
the other low-cost airline versus the mid-cost airline.
Right. That had they done that, that would have been a safer option. Because they didn't pick that, they went under. I think your logic is specious because the reason that the merger didn't work is because it got blocked by the Biden administration. So you're basically saying there's a yellow door and a green door, and the yellow door is pretty good, and then they go through the green door, and then subsequently they go, you're not allowed to go through the green door. And you go, well, it's your fault because you could have gone through the yellow door.
No, I mean, if you really read what this person is saying, JetBlue, and I know this through my credit card, is a part of the One World Alliance. It's a part of like a bunch of different airlines that really do partner together. Frontier is outside of that. So you would have been absorbing Spirit into the One World Alliance, where Frontier and Spirit would be a completely different thing and could actually be more of a competitor to the One World. You have one being absorbed, you have another one that would be a partnership and therefore a competitor. So I think that's the main point here. It's what I was trying to say far less eloquently than this writer did. I really appreciate all the details here, but I don't think it's yellow door, green door. There was an eating of Spirit and there was a partnership of Spirit, and they chose to be eaten, and that got blocked.
Well, I mean, no. The practical outcome is that they fell apart. There is an alternate scenario where you have a stronger mid-tier competitor. That is no longer available to us. So the outcome of all this is indisputably that the small one went under and the market is less competitive. There's an alternate universe where this was allowed to go through and a mid-tier competitor is stronger and therefore competition is greater. So the outcome went the worst possible way, and the Biden administration did not contribute to that. I'll say in general, I don't think that the federal government is as good at predicting what is going to be a good scaling operation or partnership or good for business as the business itself. So having the Biden administration say, we don't think that this will be particularly competitive, but we think the other one's actually a better business idea for you. I don't fault a business for wanting to make business decisions for itself rather than taking the lead from the federal government. I think a strong position that's not brought up, probably out of deference to me, which I appreciate, is that I don't believe Lena Khan is actually responsible for this. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was a DOJ decision, wasn't it? And if that's the case, then it's some other guy that's in charge of this. And I've been invoking Lena Khan the entire time. So I feel like that would be something to bring up if we needed to do it. My problem with her, the reason I keep bringing her up is I do think she's the spokesperson for this kind of neo-Brandeisian interpretation of antitrust law. And I think that the Bork consensus is a good one. It's very, very difficult to define what markets are. It's impossible if you're defining markets in order to arrive at a predetermined outcome. What you can look at is profit margins, and you can look at rising cost to consumers. Those are the two things that I think are much more empirically easy to do. And the Bork consensus operates under those rather than trying to figure out what the market is.
So I agree with pretty much everything that this person said. It was, like I said, like it was basically what I was trying to say, which is that I don't think you can purely blame the Biden administration for blocking that merger, because Spirit did have other options. They chose to go the one that had antitrust implications. It got knocked down. This was kind of predictable. That was the point I was trying to make. For this emailer, though, just to like train the audience, I really don't like the claim that Heaton had his opinions in any part due to bigotry. When you use the word bigotry, I think that implies that his issue with her would be because of her race or gender or, sexual or something like that. There is not a bigoted bone in Andrew's body. I think his issue with Lena Khan is 100% ideological economically. Even in his critique here, he didn't even address the fact that you called him a bigot. Even his critique here was like, this is where I disagree with her on like economic stuff. But you need to be more careful with your words, dear audience members, when you're criticizing us, because that was incredibly unfair. He doesn't have to like Lena Khan, but it's not out of bigotry. So just in your emails,
use all those words for me. He might not have a bigoted bone in his body. My skeleton is all slurs. When you take an X-ray, it is just nothing but bad words.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jen. I love you. Thank you. I'll say to the listener, I did not feel attacked by that. My read on that particular email was that it was probably in jest when they said bigotry, that they were being amusingly hyperbolic. So I don't think that they were I don't think that they were implying anything that I was racist. That was not my read on it. I trust them. That being said, though, thank you for saying I'm not a bigot, and the advice in general is well put. that character attacks are not well met in general.
This is an emailer who emails all the time. So,
some of the criticism of Lena Khan, and obviously not coming from you, but there has been a lot of criticism of her because she's a woman, because of her, I think she's Indian descent. I'm not really sure, but like back when she was empowered, I saw a lot of that shit. So that's why I think I'm maybe a little oversensitive of putting you in that box, because that's not where your criticism is coming from, and I want to make it crystal clear.
Sure,
I'm certainly not a fan of Captain Kirk.
What?
Yeah. Okay, it took me a second. Yeah, no, I wasn't sure, and I couldn't quite hear what you said, Justin. But I think I recognize the writing style, and I think if I know who the person is, who is the person that I think would probably want to quarrel with me the most on FTC regulations, that I think that they were just big fun.
Oh yeah, no, they are a good-hearted, spirited, ideological emailer, but we love people who put that kind of thought into it.
You know what? One of the things that I'll say is interesting about this, to get to the Lena Khan early process, is there is this shifting realignment in terms of economics right now, because you know who would disagree with me on this? J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley.
Yeah.
There are very prominent Republicans that are ideologically simpatico with Elizabeth Warren and Lena Khan on this. Now, I think they're all wrong. But like it is this very changing thing, whereas you'd see like more market. I would imagine Hickenlooper would probably be on my side on this. I don't know. So it is interesting to see these new fault line going. Steve Bannon is more on the Lena Khan side of things. There's a like kind of the growing nationalist populist Republicans are much more skeptical of corporations and corporate concentration than they used to be.
The only thing I would put to this argument is that I would find it a lot more compelling if after the blocking of the JetBlue merger, Spirit did merge with Frontier, but it never happened.
Yeah, well,
so like,
also
it's like okay, like now it just feels a lot like, well, you shouldn't address that way if you didn't want me to do what I was going to do to you. It's like you were making a wrong decision, and so I stopped you. It's like I wanted you to do the other thing, and it's like, well, we don't want to do the other thing. Well, I guess die.
Yeah, that's a succinct way of putting my position. I'll add, wasn't part of the issue with the specific blocking of Spirit with JetBlue, or Spirit with JetBlue, was that in the Northeast in particular, Frontier had a partnership with, Frontier had a partnership with somebody else, but it was just in the Northeast. And the idea was that Frontier and, hold on, let me look this up here. It was American Airlines and Frontier. They had a partnership in the Northeast, specifically with New York and Boston, and their position was, we can't effectively compete against United and against Delta. But if we kind of partner up and merge for this one region, we can be a big tier player that goes against the other two. Like that can be corporate consolidation, or I should say it is corporate consolidation. At times that can be something that's necessary in order to scale up, but it's all kind of a moot point because I'm pretty sure that got blocked too by the DOJ. Like the concentration that was being invoked by the DOJ for why you couldn't have Spirit come in is also moot because they shot down the partnership.
But I mean, we don't know even if they had merged how this would have turned out, because there is a world in which JetBlue and Spirit merge, and then there's an enshittification of JetBlue and they both go down. Like, you don't know how this would have happened. We know for sure, though, that Spirit had a bad reputation, that I refused to fly them. Justin made fun of them. I don't think you've ever flown that. Like, it wasn't an airline that people enjoyed. And so if JetBlue decided to become more Spirit than the other way around, it could have been even worse. So it's like, I think that Spirit, even when they weren't allowed to merge, could have changed their business model. They could have hiked their ticket prices. They could have tried other things to be an airline that we don't make fun of. And they didn't do that. So I still think that when a business fails, I still think it's all in the business. And I blame the business people.
Oh, contraire, bi-coastal elitist. The guy who loved Spirit emails, loved flying Spirit and Frontier. Great way to get between Chicago and Northeast Florida. I'm 6'4", by the way, still got by. So there were Spirit superfans.
I know they exist, but out in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, but you're not going to, like, if they're competing on price by being a really cheap, shitty airline, they're not going to be able to maintain that competitive advantage and also be good. Like, they're going to have to increase prices in order to do it. And like, I'm probably not going to write them for that reason, but I don't want to get rid of the option. Like, I want that option to be there. Like, you see this price point disparity and other things. When I was living in DC, coming to New York a lot, or vice versa, the difference between $40 on a bus is huge in terms of the quality of going 5 hours on a bus. Like, if I took the mega bus option from DC to New York, which was the cheapest way for me to get there, people would be listening to stuff on their iPod or their iPhone without earbuds. It was louder. Everybody was shouting. Not every time, but it was just louder. And then you took like Vamoose, which was $30 more, and it all got really, really quiet. Like, they could theoretically change their operation to emulate Vamoose and increase prices, but then they wouldn't be getting the low income people that need to go to the other option. And I don't think that, again, in general, I don't think you create good options by getting rid of bad options. And so if the government says we don't like this, we're going to cancel this particular thing, but we encourage you to go a different direction. I don't think that's the way to do it.
We also spoke about America talking about removing 5,000 troops from our bases in Germany. The German writes, one thing I might add as somebody living in the area where the troops will be removed is it's one of the biggest trading areas in Europe because it is the same terrain as most of Eastern Europe. So removing troops just reduces capability in a possible war against Russia.
It's not strategic.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll see exactly what happens because as we have come to learn, the truth social, not always exactly the truth reality in terms of things that get said in this administration. So it's like, if he is just removing 5,000 troops and it just kind of goes to pre-Ukraine war levels, that kind of just feels like the way I heard a report that the 5,000 are just going to go to another base that's actually closer to Russia. So, it would be going to Poland. So it would actually be more in the line of a possible Russian attack. So I don't know. I think a lot of this kind of stuff, I would encourage people, especially with stories like this. There used to be, I don't know if there are anymore, but like $1.50 movie theaters that would always get the movies that were there that had come out like 3 months ago. Like that used to be a thing. I don't know if they still exist. Do that with stories like this. Like these partial little stories that are like, just wait for all the fundraising emails to go out and the psychotic 24-hour news cycle stuff to kind of go, and your Instagram reels. Wait until nobody in your Instagram reels is talking about it. and then go read about it, then go investigate it to see whether or not it's a thing, because you got to wait until the political cloud is over, and then there's just going to be some military blogger who's like, yeah, this happens every 4 months. And you're like, oh, so everybody was screaming and yelling about fucking nothing because it had reinforced pre-entrenched political things so I could be used and milked for clicks and donations. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's just focus on that. And finally, in case y'all forgot, writes, military bases in Germany are not a privilege granted to us by the German government. They are spoils of war. Remember that one, WW2?
I mean,
Caught a fat
yes.
L on that one, huh, Germany?
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yes, but also it's been 80 years. Like, the reason that we're still there is because we have bilateral agreements with Germany. And if Germany wanted to change that, like, they've had 80 years.
Still
like,
gotta hold that L, dude. Not long enough. You acted up. You acted up in a big way. People don't forget, man. People don't forget.
That said, though, I don't think they want us to pull out. I think there's probably if you go to a German bar, maybe you'd hear some chatter about we don't want an American base here. I think if you talk to the Bundestag, they're going to be very, very, very glad that we're putting in billions of dollars to their local economy on top of saving them the burden of having to defense up against Russia.
But Germany has some agency here. And I think that if our country is using their land for our military, a little bit of gratitude is warranted.
How about this? I think that there should be gratitude in both ways.
Absolutely.
I think that we should be grateful to be there, I guess. If they asked us to leave, I would be very happy to leave. I think that it would be well on their part to go, hey, thanks for letting us basically fund our social safety net over the last 50 years since you covered our defense. And I'd say either way, we should probably wind down over in Germany. And if they ask us to leave, we'll do it faster. If they don't, let's figure out how to start shifting that burden back onto them.
Well, I mean, it's a partnership. And like you said, they don't want us to leave. And as we discussed last week, this is Donald Trump saying fuck you to the Germans because they haven't been 100% supportive of his illegal war in Iran. So like, it is a fuck you move.
It is. There's no doubt that it's a fuck you move.
Yeah.
Like, now that being said, is it a fuck you move that he is screaming fuck you on top of a thing that was probably planned like a year ago that, was made very, very soberly, and now he's like, well, fine. Like, now I'm going to say that, or somebody dug that out and they said Donald Trump in a temper tantrum is going to do a thing, that it was going to happen anyway. This is what I'm saying. We do our best here on the front lines of these stories to try and break through what we believe on it. And I'm very, very proud that we can tackle these things from both the emotional, but then the rational perspective. But in general, Jesus Christ, man. Like some of this shit. Like, if you are seeing people, if you're being recommended people talking about it on social media, immediately distrust it. Immediately don't believe what you are hearing. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week. Oh, we talked UK. Estella Stonstiku, whose Greek last name I never can pronounce, and so I just call her Stella. She is somebody who used to work in labor politics. Now she writes a phenomenal blog, and she met us in a pub. We talked for about 40 minutes in a pub talking about the absolute shit show for her party in Europe right now. A changing, ever-shifting world there in the UK, and that is on PX3. Mr. Andrew Heaton, who shambled into the orphanage this week?
I have on our gal, Jennifer Doliak. I interviewed her a few months ago and had meant to put that into Prison Week. Prison Week ended up being an entire week. And so I've sat on this, and I've got a very fun combo as well. So Jennifer Doliak is an economist. I think she was on your show earlier, Justin.
She was, to promote her brand new book.
She's an economist that wrote a book on practical ways to lower crime. So that's the episode, is Fight Crime Like an Economist. It's a very good thing in terms of analyzing the current system and policy prescriptions for making it better. I am coupling that with a very, very interesting conversation that I had with Jeffrey Deskovic. Jeffrey Deskovic was wrongfully convicted of rape and murder and sent to prison for 16 years. And I'm
against that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I talked to him about what that's like. And
Jen's silence is deafening. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I got to say, Jen's silence is damning. Kind of makes me wonder if she got away with something and then pawned it off on somebody else. I talked to both of them. So we're doing crime stuff. We're doing prison stuff on the political orphanage this week. Fight crime like an economist and somebody that was wrongfully convicted of murder.
Jeez Louise with cheese. Jen.
So my summary of April in Congress is almost done. I'm recording it after this, so it should be done in the next couple of days. If you are curious what was in the bill that became law that funded most of the Department of Homeland Security, that I did read. They also passed a few more laws. We had a bunch of resignations. We had a death. So there was a bunch of stuff that went down in Congress. And there are quite a few votes that I think you're going to want to use to judge your member of Congress in the midterms in April. So it's a good congressional dish. Should be out in the next couple days.
There we go. But that'll wrap it up for us today. For Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I'm Justin Robert Young, reminding you that we're not wrong. The dorks huffing rat shit in Argentina are.
Fucking FIFA.
Dog and Pony Show audio.